What's up, guys? All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at if I could only have one home defense pistol. Now, before we get started into this, I made this video once before and I decided I wanted to put this part in, so I'm redoing it. I want to talk about what I feel like makes a good home defense pistol. One is capacity. Now, this is an FNX 45 magazine. It holds 15 rounds. You get +1 in the pistol. This is a Staccato P magazine. You get 20 rounds +1 in the pistol. And some of these guns can even hold more than that. But I feel like magazine capacity is a big deal. Not all gunfights will you need 20, 21 rounds. I hope you're never in a gunfight, but not all of them will need 21 rounds. But if you knew how many rounds you were going to need to be in that gunfight that day, I would hope you just wouldn't go to wherever you was going to need to be at to be in that gunfight. So I would rather have more than less. Number two, and not all these guns have this. This isn't a must, but I like it in my home defense gun, and that is a threaded barrel. You can get threaded barrels for all these. That's why I include these on the table. Not everyone owns a suppressor, and I'm going to talk about here in a minute pros and cons of putting a suppressor on your pistol for home defense. And last but not least, I feel like you need a light because you need to identify whether or not it's a friendly or a foe that is actually in your house. There's been many instances, or maybe not many, but there have been instances where children have, snuck out of the house, couldn't get back in the window that they snuck out of, and the parent accidentally shot them. And you do not want to do that. You want to be able to identify your target, and that is one thing about all the pistols on this table. They do have light rails and are able to have lights attached. Other than that, optics and stuff, that comes down to personal preference. Some of these pistols have optics, some of them do not. Majority of them are at least optic ready, so you do have that option. I urge you that if you are going to buy a pistol for home defense, and you're not sure if you want an optic or not, or may never want optic, or may want one day, at least buy an optics ready pistol, because at least then you do have the option one day to add an optic to it if you want to. And if you don't ever want to use the optic, just leave the plate on it and you don't have to worry about it. But at least that does give you the option. I made that mistake with one of these pistols on the table, and I kick myself every day for not getting the optics ready. But let's get into some of these right here, and then I will tell you my personal preference, or at least for right now, what my home defense option is. There are a couple of these that I would definitely use for home defense, and I'll probably tell you both this. I'll tell you number two, and then number one, my personal choice that I use right now. But let's get into this. The first thing I want to look at is the CZ Shadow 2. Now, this gun is amazingly just molds into your, it's so ergonomic. It is just so ergonomic. And the texturing that they put on the front and back straps of these, especially if you get these Loke grips, they kind of have a palm swell right here, as you can see, and it just fits my hand. I mean, like a glove. It just locks in. I don't know how else to say it. It just locks in so well. But there again, you can buy these Shadow 2s with an optics cut, but I'm not sure you could when I bought this one. I'm not sure the optics ready version was available when I bought this one. I've actually thought about trading this one in for an optics ready gun, because I shoot this gun so well. I can't imagine how well I shoot it with an optic. Optics are like cheating if you don't know. When you have optics on a gun, on a pistol, it's almost, it's almost a game changer. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's not, but they may need to practice a little more with theirs, because it really is. Now, this gun is double single action only. These have all been safety checked, which means if your hammer's down, I do like this feature on a like a hammer fired pistol, but that means you can pull it right here. As the slide, let me drop the magazine, reciprocates, the hammer stays back, you have a very quick reset, and then that second fire on a Shadow 2 is, or second shot on Shadow 2 is extremely light. These things have 17+1, which is probably one of the lowest round counts on the table, but that would make an excellent option for home defense if that is the gun you have or the gun you want. Next, let's take a look at the Sig P320. Now mine happens to be a Legion. It happens to be a single action only. So you have this cocked and locked. One thing I do like about this gun, listen to how audible that is. It is very solid when it goes into the safe position. I mean, it has a very strong detent, and you don't really have to worry about knocking the safety off on this. Again, very light trigger pull, and this gun, I do have a 20 round magazine, 20+1. This is the one also that I did not get with an optics cut that I wish I would have. And there again, I've thought about trading this in for a optics cut version. But the 226 has been around for a very long time. Navy SEALs used to carry a version of the 226, and it is just a great handgun. And if that is what you have or what you want, it would make an amazing home defense pistol. Next, let's take a look at the Sig P320. A lot of you are going to have some comments about this bad boy because Sig is in some lawsuits right now about their P320. I personally have never had an incident where these things fire on their own, but there are numerous people out there that say they have, and that might be the only reason I don't recommend a P320, because just because I've not had that experience, it doesn't mean that it's not happening until some ruling comes out that says that was negligence or something like that. This might not be my first option, but there again, it does have a 21 round magazine. I actually have like a 30 round magazine for this pistol that I picked up the other day. So you can get a very large magazine capacities for these. And I do want to say that the P320 does have a great trigger. I can never take that away. The P320, the P365s, reset short. It's a great pistol. I've never had an issue with mine, but until I get some kind of, hey, this thing is good to go, I personally am probably not going to use it. But, if you have one of these and you've not had any issues with it and you feel comfortable with it, it'd be a great home defense pistol because the magazine capacity is there. It's optics ready. The trigger is great. It's just a great gun. This is the RXP full size, so you can retain the rear sight when you put the optic on it, and it has the longer beaver tail in the back. So that is my personal choice in those P320s. I like that setup the best because I don't like losing my rear sight. But there again, not 100% comfortable with that gun. Now this one does not have a magazine in it, but we all know it is the Glock 17. This is my personal war belt, battle belt pistol, so it had a loaded magazine in it, so I just took the magazine out and made sure the gun was clear. Glock's triggers are not the best in the world, but they are certainly not the worst. Once they get broke in, they do get a little better. Now this one was cut. The slide was cut by Dynamic Weapon Solution. I retained the rear sight. I do have an RMR for it, but I had to send it back because I had an issue with my RMR, brand new out of the box. So I need to actually send that back today, but I do have an optic for this. The Glock 17 has been used by law enforcement and militaries around the world. It's just an amazing pistol. It has the reputation of being just reliable as I'll get out. I mean, nobody ever hardly has any issues with these guns right here. This is a Gen 5, so you don't have the finger grooves. That is my favorite choice there again, X300. When I'm going to have a light on especially a full-size pistol, I want something that is very dependable, and there's only two lights that I actually really trust in a self-defense situation. That is Surefire and the Streamlight TLR1HL. But if I was having to go, into battle, it would be a Surefire all day long. And to tell you the truth about it, Surefire is one of the only weapon lights I've ever had to send back because the glass came loose, but I would still trust this with my life probably before anything else on the market. But you can also get like 33 round magazines for these. They hang way down. But 17 rounds is a good capacity for home defense. Now, we're getting into my 2 personal choices for home defense. And number 2 might upset a couple of you guys out there, because I know you're going to say, hey, this is the better option because it has more knockdown power. But my number 2 is the FNX 45 Tactical. Now, this is a very close number 2. I do have a light on it. It is threaded, so there again, this is an Octane 45 suppressor. So if you wanted to use a suppressor with this, you could. Now, some of the pros and cons of using a suppressor: if you're using a suppressor, yes, of course, you are going to preserve your hearing. On the flip side of that, your neighbors may not know that you're in a gunfight and may not call the law if that's or the police if that's what needs to be done. And you may not have the opportunity to do that, especially if you're home alone. If you're not running a suppressor, you're going to wake someone up if you have neighbors, and they will probably call the law and be like, hey, something is going on at my neighbor's house, because there is a plethora of gunfire going on over there. So you may want to come check that out, and help may be on the way. There again, if you are running a suppressor, you may be preserving your hearing, and that's a bad part. I want to show you that right there. I didn't mean to do that. The only thing I don't like about Streamlight TLR1s, it is so easy to hit that button and have a negligent discharge of your light. That is the only thing I have against Streamlight. So they're 100% reliable to me. I've not had any issue, but they are extremely easy to ND. But here again, you may be preserving your hearing, but I would say 99.9% of the people that's going to break in your house is not going to have one of these. So is it really helping your hearing? Is it? I don't know. I've used some of these on home defense pistols and stuff like that, suppressors. But is it really going to help your hearing if the other guy, has a 45 or a 357 Magnum or whatever it may be, and he's inside your house blasting? It's probably a moot point at that point, if I was guessing, because you're still going to be having your hearing blasted. But there again, 15 rounds plus 1 of 45. I will say this gun, you have to be way more accurate to get this magazine in the mag well right here, in the grip, because sometimes it will jam up. If you don't have this thing like that right there, it's jammed up a little bit, and you kind of have to push it on through. This one is a lot more finicky on reloads, but 15 rounds plus 1 of 45 ACP is pretty amazing. You do have the optic ready here, so I do have a Allison, what is this, a 508T on this right here, and I do have my backup iron sights that I don't lose. Again, this is a double single action, and it's just a great pistol. I've never had an issue with this. Do not like how they put the safety right here. It does hit the bone on my thumb, but for a home defense pistol, awesome choice, awesome choice. But my number 1 home defense pistol is the Staccato P. You get 20 round magazines, or you can get 20 round magazines. I think it comes with 1 or 2. Mine is the threaded version right here, so I can run the suppressor if I want to. Again, X300. This is a single action only, so you'll either have to have it cocked and locked and ready to go, which that's the way I use mine, or you'll have to remember you'll need to cock the hammer before you go to check out what that bump in the night was. Now that is going to be a con for some people, because they're going to be like, you wake up and you're groggy, you may not remember to cock the hammer, and that is exactly why I leave it cocked and locked. That way when I pick it up, I just drop the safety, and we're good to go. Now, one thing I do like about this, the triggers on these are amazing. I mean, they are just, they're just great. If you've ever shot a 1911, which I'm sure most of you have, triggers on 1911s are awesome. If you've never shot a 2011, you probably should, because they're amazing as well, and you get 2 to 3 times the amount of ammo that you will in a standard capacity single stack 1911. Again, Staccatos, optics ready. You do have to buy the plate, however, unless you're law enforcement. I think they have a deal where if you're law enforcement, you order it from them, they give you a plate, like 3 extra magazines. The gun comes with 3, and they give you 3 extra magazines with it, and then you get like a 10% discount or something. Totally worth it. This is the 507C X2 with the ACSS reticle. I have a video on the channel if you want to check that out. But this gun is heavy enough that it really doesn't have any recoil. Again, if I want to use my suppressor, I can do that. It has every feature that I want on a pistol, plus 20 plus 1. You don't have to worry about that magazine being hard to install because it has this huge mag well. And for me, this just has everything I want in a home defense pistol. But the negative side to that is a very expensive pistol. Whereas you can pick this up for $1,000, $1,200. The way this gun right here is set up, it's getting closer to the $4,000 mark. So let's run through these a little bit. So your lowest option, probably without having it, milled and stuff like I did, is probably like a Glock 17. You can probably pick those up for around $600-ish, give or take. Next is probably going to be the Sig. You can probably pick this up for $650, $700. Now this one came with an optic, and I think it's actually near $1,000. But if you just get like the regular Sig P320, they're a little bit more expensive than the Glock normally. But not much. Those two are kind of in the same category. You can get the Sig Legion here, for around $1,200 to $1,300. But you can get the regular 226 for right around $1,000-ish. So you don't have to have the Legion. Shadow 2 will probably cost you somewhere around $1,500 to $1,600. Like I said, the FNX is going to cost you somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200, depending on where you get it. And then the Staccato P is going to be closer to $4,000. So whatever your price range is, I tried to give pistols that may be in that price range. My advice would be, if you can afford a high point, buy a high point, get proficient with it. Most time those things shoot and people don't have a lot of problems with them. And if that's your budget, buy that. But if you can possibly save up and buy at least a Glock 19 or a Glock 17, that would probably be my recommendation. If you want to use it for double duty, I would say the 19, but I actually prefer the 17 over the 19, but I don't carry that gun. So if I was going to have to do both, I would get the little bit shorter barrel so it's a little bit more comfortable and more easily to conceal. Again, if you have any questions about any of these guns or questions pertaining to anything like this, leave them in the comments section below. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel and this video. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. We'll see you next time.